everybody. Welcome back to another episode of D-Pod. And we're featuring various couples. And Genji and Hyuna had nominated this couple last time. It is the Yus.
Hello,
Agape
Hi.
and Marie. Welcome back. Agape is a frequent contributor to D-Pod. And Marie, apparently I haven't invited her back since whenever that was, 2022 or something, 2023. Welcome back, Marie.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to start off with a little bit of fun like we have with the other couples. So ask you guys some questions to see if you know each other really well. How long have you been married now? How long?
A little over 4.5 years.
Yeah.
4.5 years.
It'll be
Really?
5 years this September.
Oh my gosh. You guys have been married forever. Wow. Thank you.
Forever?
Forever and minus.
It'll be half a decade. Yeah, that's kind of praise
minus
God.
forever minus 4, I guess. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry. Corny joke. Okay. Here's your first question. So I'm going to ask you a question about one of you, and you have to both answer at the same time. Okay. So I'll do a countdown. Okay. Ready? If Agape could eat only one fast food chain forever, which one would it be? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Jack in the
Wingstop.
Box?
Oh, Wingstop. Does Wingstop count as fast food chain?
It's pretty fast. If I put an online order, I can drive over and pick it up in 10 minutes.
That sounds like a restaurant.
I guess
Okay.
that counts.
Yeah. But if it were a genuine fast food place that has a drive-through, what would it be?
Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Chick-fil-A? Okay.
Sorry, Marie.
Goodness.
It's the chicken. You like chicken. What
Yeah,
is
I
it
guess
about
so.
you and wings? You
don't
have an
know.
obsession with Wingstop.
I do. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. It's good. Yeah.
Man, maybe I'll get it right in year 10 of marriage.
That just means that when you guys are together, you don't eat fast food. That's good.
That is kind of true.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
All right. So if Marie could eat only one fast food chain forever, which one would it be? 3, 2, 1.
McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
That's just the first one that came to mind.
Marie, do you like fast food? Do you like McDonald's?
It's okay. But
okay.
McDonald's fries, it's timeless. Yeah.
Timeless? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
let's say
surprised
I
you
knew
didn't say
that.
like Jollibee or something. Is
Oh,
it-
I'm
is that
only half
racist?
Filipino.
Just Jollibee have drive-thru?
Doesn't Jollibee have drive-through? Not the one in, not the one like in the Loop.
No,
but,
not the Loop one.
Yeah, but I mean
think
the
in
Loop
Philippines,
it has
maybe?
drive-through.
In the Philippines. I don't think in the U.S.
Really?
I've only been to like 2 Jollibees.
What?
So.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Does
Because it's like a seafood city and like they don't have, it's in the
That's
building.
true. It's always attached to a seafood city.
but come on, Jollibee looks like a fast food place.
It does.
It has the red and yellow.
It's got that
colors going
vibe,
on.
But it's fried chicken. So is that fast food?
Look, it says many of our locations also have drive-through options.
Okay. I haven't been to one of those.
For example, in Skokie, there's a Jollibee that has drive-through,
Really?
which will be very close to Morton Grove,
Yeah.
which you're not living
Yeah,
at.
no. We'll
Okay,
be there, I guess.
What are these
every now and
cities
then.
that
But
I am mentioning right now?
I have to go there a lot for work anyway. So
Oh, for Skokie.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
because there's a
Skokie.
Putt Shack opening there. Are we
Yeah.
allowed to say that on the air?
Oh.
yeah.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
it's-
All right.
yep.
It's public. All
It's
right,
opening
great.
June 18th.
June
Y'all, I'm
18th.
a free advertisement for my
Wow.
company.
June 18th. Skokie.
To all
Putt
of your
Shack.
hundreds of listeners.
I know, to my thousands of listeners, my influencing career. Okay, all right. Next question. All right. So, who is more likely to survive a zombie apocalypse? You just say the name at the same time together. Ready? Who is going to survive the zombie apocalypse? 3, 2, 1.
Marie.
Nice. What is your guys' reasoning?
Yeah, what's your reasoning, Marie?
Agape would just run around crazy or something, or
No, I think I would try to do something really crazy and dumb and get myself killed.
Well, I would. Similar answer, but I was gonna say he'll die in a chivalrous way, like protecting me.
yeah, exactly.
oh yeah, I like that. Wow, Maria's a good wife.
She's great.
Lifting up her husband right now. This is solid. Take notes. All right. What is Agape's biggest irrational fear? I feel like this is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Heights.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Agape's so afraid of heights that you guys know, for the Chicago people, like the Midway Plaisance, that little park. It's got a little tiny little 3 foot.
It's
3
huge.
foot drop.
No, it's more than 3 feet.
It's 3 feet, bro. Okay. Maybe it's 5 feet.
The incline is crazy.
Yeah, the incline. So then during winter, we went sledding there once. I guess a few people went, and then he was like screaming at the top of his lungs as he was going down.
But it's also more fun to scream. But yes, it was scary.
Okay, what is Marie's biggest irrational fear? This one I'm having a little harder time.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you know her well, right, Agape?
No. Yeah.
I'm like, do I know myself?
Maybe the answer is I have no irrational fears because I'm rational. But fears aren't rational.
Right. I have one in mind.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay, I have a specific one in mind, but
Oh.
we'll see if
Oh,
it's...
let's
It's not
see.
that one.
It's not that one. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
The future.
Health?
Oh.
That's kind of the future when you get old.
Yeah.
Is health. But that's not what you meant.
No.
Yeah. I guess,
What-
well, yeah, I meant, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a recent example. But yeah, if I have like some stomach ache or something, I'm like, oh, I must be dying.
Oh, yeah,
Or like that thought
okay.
comes across.
Oh, that's true.
Like the diagnosis is like the worst possible scenario.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
if some kind of, something's just slightly not normal.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, it's cancer.
Oh, I must have cancer or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
But it never
Yeah.
makes it quite out of my mouth all the time. It's just but it is there. Like the fear is
Yeah.
in my head.
Do you feel like it's particularly with the area of health, or do you engage in that kind of thinking in other areas?
I think it's mainly with health.
Mainly with health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. We have certain things. So I actually have, and that's what fears are, I guess. But I actually am very afraid of flying. Like I get, well, not very afraid, not to the point where I'm like physically, okay, I don't want to say that. So, but I am fairly afraid of flying, and it's particularly landing.
Oh.
I just know the statistics that's basically when all the crashes happen.
fascinating.
So I get tense every time we land still. And I just hate the fact that
wow.
we have to fly for our ministry stuff. So I
That
would,
is so
if it were up to
interesting.
me, I would just drive everywhere. You
I
know?
would have never guessed
But
that.
then statistically, don't people die more from car rides than plane
You're
crashes?
right. But at least if it's a car ride, this makes absolutely no sense, but it was sort of under my control.
yeah.
Whereas the airplane
Oh.
thing, I can do nothing about it except just sit there and grip my whatever the armrest or whatever that's called. Right. So
I see. That's true. Our lives are in the pilot's hands.
that's why it's
Yeah.
irrational though, because it is actually very safe, compared to driving. Yeah. I'll probably more likely get into an accident and die from falling asleep at the wheel. So anyways, way to bright conversation right now. Okay. All right. So those are some of the fun questions. I do want to ask you guys about some of your reflections from marriage, since this is the couples episode. So yeah, gosh, the marriage relationship, it's so unique. God uses marriage actually as a metaphor for, Christ's relationship with the church. And so we know it's a very deep relationship. And so how has marriage and your guys' relationship with each other changed the way, or enriched maybe the way that you view God or view the gospel? How have you experienced that in your life?
Yeah, I can go first. For me, I think the specific area is understanding what it means to love a sinner. Yeah, because one of the things that attracted me most about Jesus was that he went to these people that were the rejects of society, people who made a lot of mistakes in their lives, and he loved them, right? And he accepted them. And as a person with a lot of baggage, a lot of like regrets and addictions, that was the thing that drew me to Jesus, because I thought I couldn't be loved by anybody. I didn't love myself, and the fact that God, who knew everything about me, could love me, that was amazing. But I think intellectually that hits me, but then at certain times I think I still struggle with that even today, especially when I sin, when I fall in some area and I just feel this doubt, right? But in marriage, I think there was a level of that where I got to experience it to be true. Okay, well, so in my other relationships, some of my best friends from college, they know all my deepest, darkest secrets. They know how much I struggle in different areas and things I've done in the past, and I've experienced acceptance in that way too.
Yeah.
But well, so one of the reasons why I proposed to Marie was there was a conversation we had the week prior where I opened up about my biggest struggles in life, because I felt like she needed to know these areas of my life
Before ask her to commit to you. Yeah,
so that she can carry that with me. And I was so anxious about that. And I knew that based on how she responded to that, like that would set the future of our relationship, whether it continues or not. And the way that she responded, from what I remember, she said that she still accepts me, that she still, like, because Jesus forgives me and because of Jesus' love for me and what he did on the cross, like she reminded me of the gospel in these fresh ways that she could still accept me. And that, I can't remember this exactly, but that might have been the first time you said that you love me. Do you remember that? Or it might have been right after. But right after. But essentially, that's what you were trying to communicate, I think.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. And I wasn't intending to propose. And actually, during that conversation,
just head over heels at that point.
Yeah, no, during that conversation, I had told her, hey, because I was planning to go see her later that week. I said, hey, I kind of set it up in this way because we were at the stage of our relationship where, like, it's that time where I have to either propose or like we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
At least I felt that way. But I wasn't ready to do that at that point.
Yeah.
And then I told her, like, hey, like, I'm coming to visit you, but don't expect anything. It's just going to be another date. But after this conversation, we hung up. I immediately bought a ring.
Wow.
And then I ordered it to California because it wouldn't come to Chicago in time.
Oh.
And because if she could know this deep area of my life and still say that she wants to continue in this relationship, then what an amazing woman she is. And I think that speaks to the gospel as well. Like it's a reflection of God's love for me. Like somebody can know like these deep areas of my life and still love me and accept me is, I don't know. Marriage, like it feels different than like my friends knowing that and then still loving me and accepting me. So I think it really enriched it in that way. Yeah. And I think in the past 4.5 years, I mean, I'm still a sinner. I'm still broken. And there's conversations that we've had. And again, Marie forgives me for things that I've done to her. And she still says she loves me. And I'm amazed by that every time. So yeah. And it's amazing to me that God still loves me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's pretty, I don't know. I think it's just kind of interesting because so I've thought about this, which is what's different about the marriage relationship such that hits you in some ways. It hits you way more powerfully. I experienced that too. There were certain insecurities that I had. So this is not even about my sins. This is just personal insecurities that I had about the kind of person I was. I feel lacking in certain ways. And then hearing from my wife, sometimes I think early in marriage, I would be like, oh man, this is something I feel insecure about. And then she would say, oh, that doesn't bother me at all. And then suddenly the insecurity just disappears. You're like, oh, my wife doesn't care. I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? It's, right. And I think part of it, and I haven't thought about this like too deeply, but part of it is that it was a voluntary relationship. Marie didn't have to get married to you. She could have not done that. And it's like that, like Christ chose, right? So that's what Jesus says. Like no one's making me do this. Of course, he's being obedient to the Father. At the same time, he says he's doing this out of his own accord, right? To die for us, right? And so that he could save us. And so then the fact that that's like a voluntary relationship in which they're committing to you just makes that, and then it's like a lifelong covenant, right? And that's the only permanent relationship that's set up, aside from a relationship with God. So yeah. So anyways, I think there's something about that that's powerful and it does reflect God. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Maria, what about you? Any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think for me, through our marriage, I've seen more of what God's grace looks like and the extent that it, the extent that it goes. And yeah, I can't think of an exact story or example, but yeah, I think just throughout our marriage, I've been able to see a little bit more of just like the ugliness of my anger, for example. And yeah, like compared to when I would like have fight and be angry with my friends, when it's like just me and Agape, yeah, somehow I'm able to just see, whoa, yeah, like this is how like angry of a person I am. But then he's still, one thing about Agape is even when we fight, he'll always be like, oh, why do you think this? Or why do you think that? He really wants to understand my reasoning and understand like where I'm coming from. And I find that frustrating. And also I'm thankful for it at the same time, because I'm like, wow, he's so like persistent in wanting to get right with me and get to know my side. And then when he forgives me, I'm just like, I'm amazed even now that, he still chose to proposed to me, even though like he was very well aware of just how I like struggle with anger, but he still extended that that engagement part of our relationship. So I just I'm thankful for how he gives me grace, even though I don't deserve it. And I think in some ways it shows me how much in my relationship with God, there's a lot of stuff that like I see the ugliness of, and instead of just like staying there because of my relationship with Agape, I'm like, oh, actually I can still, I can approach God, because I know that like when I've approached, not that Agape's God, but just in our relationship, like he's given me grace in that way. Okay, God is gracious, and I can also go to him. Hope that makes sense.
So I think that it's interesting because so you guys both experience the other person giving you grace, and then that's the thing. I think that's the thing that makes like marriage work, which is that so the commonly used key verse for marriage is we love because he first loved us. All right, in 1 John 4. And like that sounds just cliche, but it's just so true that we are able to love because he loved us first. And that's the reasoning that we engage in, right? I mean, I'm assuming a little bit, but when I think about my marriage, I'm able to extend grace because I was shown grace. Like how else can I possibly respond to this person aside from showing grace? Because I've been shown grace. And then as you show each other grace, you're more motivated to keep showing each other grace, right? And so that's a beautiful thing when it all works out, right? When we start demanding that the other person, understand us, or they have to be a certain way, that's when it gets ugly, right? So yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Just to hit on a little lighter question. All right. So, in marriage, people have disagreements and fights, right? Some of them are kind of serious, but most of the time we can kind of, move on and kind of understand. Okay. And then there's certain ones that are just kind of like, you fight about like really dumb things. Actually, I think people would be shocked by how dumb the things we talk about or like we fight about are. I'm actually privy to these because we meet with various couples for just, office hours, just how are things going in your marriage. And our couples are really honest sometimes. And so then they tell us like the darndest things. And like, it's darndest because it's like really dumb. Like they're like fighting about spinach or something like that. So, I'm not going to say who that is. Oh shoot, everyone knows who that is. But anyways, so what is a silly disagreement that you guys have had that you're able to laugh about now?
Yeah.
I say it that way because earlier we were kind of discussing this question and there was kind of silence, and I was like, oh, it seems like there are some disagreements that we still can't laugh about, huh? And there was awkward laughter. But we found one that we can laugh about now.
Yes.
Right, guys? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I also just thought of another one. I don't know if we have time for
Sure.
two.
Just whatever. Yeah.
Marie's first?
Yeah. Marie's first.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So in our first week of marriage, Agape sprained his ankle, actually right outside of Greenwood, I believe.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. Right before your wedding.
And
the week
right
after.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
It was in a span of 2 weeks. Twice, in the same pothole.
in Stout Park.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I couldn't put any weight on it. It turned black, and
Yeah. So
it
anyways,
was my driving foot, the right foot.
Yeah. So then because of that, I was like insistent on being the one to, drive.
yeah, it makes sense.
And then
Reasonable.
Reasonable. It's
then-
very reasonable.
yeah, we were just driving in Hyde Park, and then I made like a unprotected left turn, and then Agape was like, whoa, that move. And then my like thought or reaction to it was like, dang, he's criticizing my driving. What do you mean what that move? But
Well,
And then the fight began.
to be clear, I didn't say it with the tone that she just did.
How did you say it?
It was
Can you,
like, whoa, that move.
no,
it
that
Is
sounds
different?
about the same to me.
Oh, is it? Okay. And for me, it's like a whoa, that's like amazing. That's cool. Like,
so that's what's funny,
neat
right?
that you could do that.
Oh, like Agape was so impressed and like, respecting his wife's driving skills. And then on Marie's end, she's like, the heck? Are you criticizing me right now? And then the fight began. You guys know those jokes, and then the fight began jokes. Anyway,
No.
some of them are bad.
Wait,
But
now
anyways.
I just thought of another story.
Oh, okay. Tell us.
So the first one disagreement that we had that I remember earlier was in our first year of marriage. So I do the laundry now mostly.
Oh, thank you for your confession.
But there was this one particular time Marie did the laundry, and then the clothes came out. I thought it was a little damp, like a little wet.
Yeah.
She said, no, it's perfectly dry. And then we like got in a serious argument about it. And then later I'm like, man, like I really didn't need to fight. What's the point? I can just let them dry. If I wanted to dry, I could just dry it like a little bit more, you know? So I just remember thinking that was like such a dumb fight. And it was like because of me and my like insistence that it needs to be a certain way. And so dumb.
Yeah. Well, also guys are a little bit, I'm generalizing here, but guys are a little bit more literal with their words. And
that's also true.
We try to, so then it's like, well, technically, this is damp. This is damp. Is this dry? Does it have partial?
That's literally
right, because that's like probably the argument, right?
And then I pulled out like a dry shirt and it's different. Or I tried to show that it was like, different.
This is dry. This is damp. This is dry. This is damp. What are we arguing about right now?
Oh gosh.
But then you're just like, whatever. This is good enough.
I was like I'm like, it's
dry enough. It's dry enough. Yeah.
And it was humid, so I was like, maybe it's the weather, but it's not like even slightly wet. It's
So then basically, so then your learning is, well, you could have just dried it more if it bothers you. Right? Yeah. And you just move forward in that situation, right? Yeah. No, I get stuck in that cycle a lot too. Like with Kata, it's about words, and I'm like, well, that's not true. But then we could just move on, though. No, I don't want to move on because you used the wrong word. It's like so infuriating. It must be so frustrating to talk to me. Anyways, I'm having a little moment of personal reflection right now. Okay, what was the other one?
The other one was our first fight in our honeymoon or mini moon.
The drinking water one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
so we were going to places and we were driving. I think we drove around for a good hour and a half. And then
the context, right? This is COVID. You guys just got married.
Yeah. And
you
then
went to where?
County? No, sorry.
Door County in Michigan, right? Oh,
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
And then I planned poorly for it, and I was just like, "We'll get there, and we'll figure out what to do."
Of course.
And then I realized normal people drink water because I only drink water like after sports. But I think normal people drink water like outside throughout the day. Yeah, I didn't realize that. But Marie was starting to get thirsty, and then we drove around, and I was like, "Oh, let's try this, let's try that." And then a lot of things were closed, and then we ended up at like a what do you call it? Like a souvenir shop. Yeah. And then we're like going through the store. I'm like all excited because I'm like, let's bring stuff. What are we? This is our first purchase as a couple for our home. All this stuff. But Marie also hates shopping. And so
I don't like knickknacks.
And we're going through things, and I'm like, hey, let's get a pair of these. And we ultimately decided on one mug to share between the two of us.
Yep, still in our cabinet.
Yes. And then at the time, before we got to the store, she's like, can we buy some water? Because before we had left, I told her, you don't need your water bottle. She's like, should I bring my water bottle? I'm like, why do you need your water bottle? So she didn't bring it. And then she's like, I'm thirsty. Can we get some water? She's like, yeah, let's go over there, right? I completely forgot about the water because it's not important to me, And then I'm at the cash register and I'm paying for the for the mug. And then I turn around, Marie's gone. And then I was like, oh no, something's wrong. And then she was like outside and sitting on the like a bench out there. And I was like, are you okay? She wouldn't talk to me. Or she said, you forgot the water or something like that.
You were very angry at this point.
Yes. And that's when Agape coined the term. That's her Thanger.
Thanger? Instead of hanger?
Yeah, thirsty anger.
Have you ever gone Thanger after that? Or was that the last time?
Just a handful of times. He is pretty mindful now.
Well, okay. At nighttime when we come back home and we're like having a serious discussion in the car, sometimes I forget that she wants to drink water when we get home. And then we're seriously talking. She's like, I'm thirsty. Okay, I'll get you water. But yeah.
I have never, just to be honest, I have never met anyone who gets angry because she couldn't have water. So I think you're very unique in that regards, Marie.
Yeah, maybe I just drink more water than average.
Yeah. I wonder if Nicholas gets angry because he drinks a lot of water.
He does. Yeah, I know.
I should ask him. And he also has anger issues, kind of. Oh, sorry. Not to characterize you as having anger issues.
No, it's fine. I own it. Yep,
yeah. I mean, you said so yourself. So.
Yes.
Well, I think the particular thing is that when she's feeling thirsty and in some way I obstruct her from getting water.
Her. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're having this serious conversation. If she feels like she can't leave.
Yeah.
Or she can't get up to get water.
Yeah.
Because I'm like serious mode,
Have you tried just saying, I'm thirsty, can I get some water?
I think I have.
It comes out angry.
Nice. Well, maybe you can work on that. Maybe that could be the next step, because it's okay to pause the discussion.
Yeah.
You know, like Agape just needs to know, right? Oh, now we're doing marriage counseling now. I couldn't help myself. Yeah. But I think that would be a cool technique to try, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, or maybe you just need like a hand motion. I need to drink some water, you know, kind of make it funny. And then Agape is, yeah. Thanger, you know? Oh man, that's funny. Nice. Thank you guys for sharing that. All right. So, oh man, we're already 27 minutes in, so I'm gonna have to move this along. Okay. How about we? Yeah. Okay. Let's just move on to the meat of the discussion, which is, so I've been asking the couples, you know, kind of as you think about this past school year, how's God been speaking to you? You know, I feel like, you know, there's lots of little things that we experience day to day, but kind of if you think about large themes in our lives or big lessons that God's showing you, well, yeah, what would that be for you?
Yeah, I could go first. For me, I think this past year, one area that God has been kind of trying to speak into is my insecurity about my identity as a minister of the gospel. Yeah, I think I generally feel very insecure. And I feel like I don't deserve to be doing ministry for various reasons, like my sin struggles, my laziness, the list goes on, right? But I think this past year, I think in particular with Filter of Hope a few months ago, yeah, during that trip, I didn't have much expectation going into it, because we were asked to go 2 weeks before as a replacement for Steph and Viv, and then 3 weeks ago, yeah, and then
maybe we can just set that up a little bit, right? Because Steph and Vivian were supposed to lead that trip. We'd been planning for that since November, right? Like fundraising, getting people to sign up, marketing it. So, you know, they had carried that forward, but then because they ended up getting chosen to be part of that foreign mission team, suddenly the Filter of Hope trip was coinciding with some other stuff that they had to do in order to get prepared for the foreign missions trip to Indonesia. So then we had to pull them out, and then we asked if you guys could take that over, which is kind of, you know, like that's not ideal. That's not an ideal scenario, like to get thrown into something midway, something that someone else had started, and then it was like 3 weeks before you guys had to leave. So anyways, that's the setup. Yeah. So I didn't have much expectation, and I was just trying to continue what Stefan and Viv started, or Marie and I were going to do that. And then, when you say you didn't have much expectation, what do you mean by that?
I guess I didn't think that. Well, okay. So towards the end of the trip, I realized that it wasn't just that I had low expectations. It's just that I had this deep insecurity that God wouldn't be able to use me in particular, or that because I'm there, that the trip wouldn't be a good trip.
Like people wouldn't be saved.
People wouldn't
have a good time.
The students there wouldn't have a good experience. That for some reason or another, that I would screw things up, or things would be brought down because of me.
I see.
Yeah. So I realized that at the end of the week, because I was really surprised by the different conversations that I guess me in particular was having with people, students on the trip, as well as with the locals in the Dominican Republic, and the spiritual progress that people made. And I was like floored. And that revealed to me that like I had this deep insecurity, that I really doubted that God would do something there. and I realized, and so Ephesians 2:10 comes to mind. It says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." And I realized that even though it seemed like we were like these replacements going on this trip in the very last minute, that in a way God actually had prepared it for us. And there were particular people that God wanted me to be there for, or for me to be there so that I can receive something. In particular, if it wasn't me, it wouldn't have turned out in certain ways.
Yeah.
Like it almost sounds, I don't know if I can say that exactly, but it felt like
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that can sound, you know, you don't want to sound arrogant or something, but from the stories that you've told me, it's like a particular struggle that this person had that like you were able to like really empathize with, or, you know, just different things like that, where it felt like, whoa, I can actually meet this need, right? Regardless of whether you're the only one that can meet this need,
right.
You definitely can meet this need, and it's always like actually a really good fit, right? So that experience.
Yeah. And so I think that this lesson, that even though I feel really insecure about my identity as a minister of the gospel, that God calls me to that. It's by his grace. It's not by like my ability or my, spirituality, et cetera, and in some ways I can't be disqualified with the things I struggle with. God still wants to use me to be a blessing, and there's good works for me. And even though I struggle with various things, like I shouldn't give up. I need to keep struggling. I still need to keep fighting. I still need to keep trying to love people, to look for opportunities to serve. And this idea that God has good works for me is something, I think I've been learning this past year. So Filter of Hope was an example. I think even in the fall, where like we led a Course 101 group with 5 people, and I thought that was a really neat experience, and being able to help these students come to know Jesus a little bit more. Yeah. One of those guys just recently became Christian. One of those guys got baptized. Yeah. It's crazy to me that we got to be part of that. And so, I just feel a sense of privilege and really thankful for that. And looking forward to how God will continue to use me, use us.
Yeah. I actually think that's like a really good place to be spiritually, when you feel really weak and you're still just obeying. I think that's actually really good. So, I've been sort of in a nostalgic mood, I guess, since we're, about to move, and been thinking about 2019. And so I've been reading some of my writings from during that time, just to kind of remember. I kind of forgot what it was like. And I was kind of surprised by how much I wrote about how unprepared I feel for this role, which now that, I'm reminded through my writing, I'm like, I remember feeling like, the heck, like we were supposed to be in a 1-year training, and 6 months in, we got sent out to Chicago. Right. And it's not even starting something new. Like we were stepping into something that already begun. Right. And so that felt hard. And I remember that time with sweetness, because I think maybe more than any other year in my life, besides maybe some, it was like within Chicago, I think that first year was when I had the sweetest times of prayer, because I just felt like I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making it up. I feel like I'm making it up as I'm going, and I feel like a fraud. Yeah. Right. And so then what I had to turn to again and again was the fact that it's God who calls me into this, and it's not my church. This is God's church. And he's asking me to be faithful and to be available to whatever's in front of me for that day. And then when I look back, I'm like, whoa, God worked. That was awesome. But then the daily experience of it was like, the heck am I doing right now? I'm like barely afloat. Right. So, ministering to the likes of Agape, so and all of your friends. So, but I'm so thankful that you guys had that experience in Filter of Hope. Yeah. And I'm sure it was challenging, and yet when God is moving, you it's not you. Yeah. Yeah. It's that experience. It was, it's not you. You're like, what I said was not that awesome. And then like people are like blessed, or they're like repenting or something, and you're like, oh, that's Holy Spirit at work right there. Yeah.
Wow, this is really neat that I get to. I felt like I was experiencing it myself, just being part of it. Yeah. So
praise the Lord. Yeah. What about you, Marie? What are some ways that you've experienced kind of God shaping you or teaching you different things this year?
Yeah. Well, I think also kind of related to Filter of Hope, I kind of learned that, God redeems all things, including the sad things. Because when was it back in? Well, anyway, we were like, Agape and I, we were expecting, or like I was, pregnant, but then, I had a miscarriage in February.
I think it was February. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, even during the season of recovery, like I had an infection, and then I got a second infection from the antibiotics for the first one. And it was just, I just felt very lame.
That was a hard time. Yeah,
it was
emotionally, physically.
Both for sure. But then, just kind of the need of, someone having to lead the mission trip kind of came up. And I believe you guys asked us when I was maybe 75% recovered, something like that. And like, I know just, heart wise, I was like, oh, I still feel really like weak and lame. I was just kind of like surprised, but also kind of like, oh, wow. Yeah. This is almost kind of like it felt like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity to, just be able to like say yes to something like Filter of Hope. So then, yeah, we said yes to that. And then I think 2 or 3 days after that, I was just, resting at home. And then all of a sudden,
After that being when we asked you guys about it, or
a few days after you guys asked us about it.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I was just like still recovering during the middle of the day. And then all of a sudden I kind of went into a trance. And then, I just kind of saw 2 shades of green, 2 shades of pink. And then sort of like a murmur. It wasn't quite a voice, but then it like sounded like it said, "You have to share." And then I just like kind of came back to it, and I was like, "Whoa, nope, I'm still, sitting on my couch in my apartment." And what was that?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I didn't tell anybody about it because I was like, maybe I'm going crazy from these beds or something.
Yeah.
But then I kept thinking about it because I was like, oh, I'm not like an imaginative person. And yeah, even when it comes to the idea of like dreaming and stuff, I don't remember any of my dreams like ever. Yeah, not since I was, really small. So then I did journal about it for a few days after that. And yeah, I kind of came to the conclusion, like that murmur of, oh, you have to share. And I'm like, oh, what's the thing that I want to share like the least about right now? I'm like, oh, it's about, my miscarriage and this like recovery and how long it's taking and all of that. So then, yeah, I kind of had to, like pray to God. Yeah, if you want me to share about this, I'll share about it, even though it feels really like raw right now. And then fast forward to, when we were on the ground in the DR.
Before you go there, though, I just want people, because people might think that you have these kinds of visions all the time or something. Maybe because you're like half Southeast Asian or something, but it's not the case, right?
No,
so
not at all.
This was like foreign to you.
Yes. Yeah. This was my first. Yeah. That's why even like I had to journal about it because I was like,
is this real? That? Is this from God? Is this from the devil? What is this?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So first time experiencing that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. It still gives me goosebumps every time I hear about it. So anyways, so then fast forward.
Yeah. So then fast forward to the last day of our filter distribution. Actually, the whole entire trip, I kind of had it in the back of my mind, but my main priority was just like, talking with whoever we meet and, being with everybody, doing this together, all of that. And I kind of thought, that vision, whatever, it's just not going to happen because we visited few days before that, we visited more like remote areas and, people with tin roofs. There's no pink or green here.
Yeah.
But then, the last day we went to an area that was a little bit more developed. And like the first place my group turned towards, it was like a long...
There was another detail about how you guys swapped groups or something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Last day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe Agape could...
Yeah, so every night before the day, we would set up our groups, and then it would be me in the first group, Marie in the second group, and then 3, 4, 5. We would distribute the staff.
Yeah.
But always me and Marie, 1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
And then the last day, I was just like, I'm going to move Marie to, I think it was group 3.
5
or group 5, yeah. Just, I don't know why. I just moved her to the 5th group.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
I was still group 1 or something like that.
That's
She's
so
group
random.
5. Yeah.
That's so random.
I just had this, I'm going to move her. And then, so, yeah.
Anyway, so then because you were in group 5, you ended up
at this particular
house.
Yeah. And then we went down an alleyway and I turned the corner and I was like, oh my goodness. There was like a light green wall on the left and a light pink wall like in front of me. So it was actually kind of like an alleyway to like various apartments. And then I was like, no way.
Because those were the 2 of the colors that you saw.
Those were 2 of the shades that I saw. Yeah. And I was just kind of like, oh, could this really be happening? Oh, probably not. And then one woman came out and we were talking with her a little bit. And a few minutes later, another woman came out and I was like, oh my goodness. Because she was wearing like a silk, like darker pink hair cap. And then she was wearing a dark green shirt.
Which were the other 2 shades you had seen.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh no, God, is this really?
So how are you feeling in that moment?
One was like shock, like in a cool way. No way.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah. I'm not a crazy person. It wasn't the meds.
It wasn't the meds.
Yeah.
But then right after that too was kind of this feeling of like vulnerability and kind of like, because I did remember the prayer that I had prayed to God the month before that, or a few weeks beforehand of, if I'm gonna, or if this happens, then I'm gonna share about it. So then yeah, so then I started feeling a little bit like flustered and just kind of praying with my eyes open, like kind of tracking with the conversation, but also sort of like, it's not like the vision gave do this step first, do this step second. It's kind of like, just the two shades and then the
just
murmur.
have this sense that you have to share something.
Yeah. So then I was kind of praying with my eyes open and I was like, oh, there's two women, God. Which one am I supposed to talk to and how am I supposed to like bring it up and stuff? So I still felt like very kind of weak and kind of like, also just thinking, oh, like, is this really happening? Yeah. So it was kind of all of those emotions in one. But then, eventually, like I kind of realized the first woman we saw was actually more receptive to like our stories and also of sharing. Kind of like what's been going on in her life spiritually. And I had a sense that she was like a bit warmer towards us. But then for the second woman, I'm like, oh, maybe because she's the one who feels like a slightly more distant from us than maybe she's the one that I'm supposed to talk to. Just in case, I ended up asking both women. I like looked to our translator and I was like, this is going to sound really crazy, but can you ask them, have either of them experienced a loss recently? Because I thought it'd be too weird if I just said, have you like had a miscarriage? Yeah. So then they both had like responses of relatives who passed away a few years ago. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, what a fail.
Oh man, the question was too broad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like my group members were also kind of looking at me like, huh?
Why that was random. Marie, you're not tracking right now.
So I felt like I was just interrupting.
Right.
Versus, what everyone else was doing. So then I kind of was trying to track with what everyone was saying, but then I had like kind of this like kind of increased like burning sense. Oh wait, I have to try say something again. So then I kind of did a awkward sorry guys, and I turned to the translator again and I was like, can you actually ask like the second woman, the one that I thought was more kind of like distant. I was like, can you ask her if she has lost a child before? And then she like asked her and then she responded and then the translator looked all shocked and she was like, she had a miscarriage, 2 or 3 years ago or something. And then I was like, I kind of wide-eyed and stuff. And then the rest of my group's also kind of, again, what's going on? But then I was like, okay, now this is, I think, I don't need any more like confirmation or signs or anything. And I actually felt a little bit more relaxed, even though it felt very like, just raw and kind of vulnerable. But then, I proceeded to just tell that woman about like my miscarriage and my recovery and how, God was kind of with, me and Agape in the, I think in every step of our like grieving about like the sad, sadness of miscarriage. And I was just able to also share with her some, verses that kind of helped me while I was just trying to process everything. And then, strange enough, like, it felt very vulnerable. And I think I was just really surprised that I didn't cry. Like, I was just like very like steady. And I think it's because I just was so focused on her. And I did tell her, like, I think God just, he like allowed me to heal like just in time to tell you that he like loves you and he like wants that, restored relationship with you. And I was just kind of like pouring out my heart for her and stuff. And the kind of funny thing was like, or not funny, but it's like everyone was crying because then I don't think they knew kind of what had happened.
No one knew about it.
No one knew about it.
Yeah.
And then the translator was like, crying too. And I was like, no, you can't cry. Like, you have to stay with me. You have to translate.
Stay focused, man. Oh, man. Yeah.
And she did. And we got a chance to just, pray with both of those women. And the one that I addressed, like, it wasn't clear to me in that moment if she had made a decision, but I think because, some of my group members were closer to her, they actually said that she did. Because I think they had a side conversation or something, but so then, I'm just really thankful, even in the midst of all the stuff that Agape and I had to go through the past few months. One of my prayers, like when I was really sad about it was like, oh yeah, God, can you like use this somehow? And in my head, I thought that meant, oh, maybe a few years down the line from now, I'll be able to comfort someone who also goes through miscarriage. That's literally what I was thinking. But then, like I was just so shocked that that he would answer that prayer so quickly and so like tangibly and in this such a unique way.
Yeah.
So I'm just really thankful that God redeems all things, and even with the like sad stuff, like he can use that to really speak to people.
Yeah, man, thanks for sharing that. I mean, the story itself is a gripping, it's just a gripping story, but we, to get to the story, I realized, we kind of like you guys had a miscarriage, and we just kind of like moved past that real quick there. And so, and that's not easy for people to take, and then physically, it also, it can be tough. Right. So, so how did you guys, maybe you can share just whatever you're willing to share. Like how have you guys processed that? And how did this experience with this vision? It seems like it's like a legit vision, right? And who knows what will come of this and why. These are the answers we won't get until heaven. Like why that particular vision and that particular person with this particular suffering that you went through, that God intervened in that way to give you a signal to share with this woman who became saved. And who knows what else will come from that now, right? Yeah, but that thing. So I don't know, how has that helped you, or how have you guys been processing that?
Well, for me, when we first heard the news, I think I emotionally shut down because I just needed to get through it, and I felt like I needed to be strong for Marie because Marie doesn't cry, but the first few nights she was crying every night, and that was shocking to me. And so I felt like I needed to, I don't know. I didn't know I could do this actually, that I could shut down in my emotions in such a way that, I'm looking back on it, I'm kind of surprised that I was able to get through each day. Yeah. And actually, it didn't hit me until like maybe a week or two later. Then I felt really sad. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
I guess like how have you processed the, just going through a miscarriage? I mean, that's not easy, right? So, and how, if this helped at all, like the whole filter phobe thing, and I mean, it's still recent too, so maybe it just still feels sad.
I think I do still feel sad. I think the way that I processed it, I mean, I don't know if I would say this is the greatest pain that I've experienced in life. In the past the past 8 years, I've experienced a lot of pain. And growing up, I experienced a lot of pain too. But I think the past 8 years is different because I've been Christian, and I think over this period of time, as I've experienced pain, I mean, like for example, like my dad passed away 2 years ago, or I found out he passed away, and I had to process that. I think I've had chances to practice processing pain, and a big way that I personally do that is by sharing with people. I'm really thankful for the community that we have here. Man, and I'm sad that Stefan's not here.
I know. Stefan just left last week.
I think he was like a really huge support. I was with him a lot, and we ate a lot. I guess I processed through food too. But and then I think because I've experienced some pain in the past, I think it prepared me in some way to be able to trust God even with this area. I mean, man, can I say this? Like, we've been trying to have a kid for a few years now, and this is our first one, that something came out, and then, I mean, extremely disappointing. But to trust that God will do something, or like that God is still good in the midst of it, I think it wasn't a foreign experience. And so, what am I trying to say? I guess the specific things I did to process was to share, to pray, to read God's word, and to remember how God's been good to me in the past, and how God has been good even through periods of suffering in my life, as well as through how it's depicted in the Bible. Even thinking about Joseph, at the end of his life, or when his father passes away, and his brothers are like, oh man, like they're afraid that he's going to punish them for how evil they were to him. And he says, you intended this for evil, but God turned it for good, right? And so, there's different stories that I was able to hold on to. So even though this is really painful and very sad, I can trust that God is good. And I was able to hold on to that. And then, this is one of the things I was talking about, that God, for some reason, we were there at Filter of Hope. Like we were in the Dominican Republic with this particular person right after we went through this. And then, why did I move Marie to this group? If we kept it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she wouldn't have gone to that fifth house.
Would not have happened. Yeah.
So, and then it is confirmation that God wants to redeem the brokenness in our lives, and that God is doing something with the pain and suffering in our lives. And so I think that's how I processed it, and I'm still trying to process it that way too. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ongoing process, right? And I think that, when I've thought more about this whole Filter of Hope thing that happened, my first instinct is, well, wow, like God really loves that woman and wanted to send you guys to her. So there's that side of things, but there's also this side of things, which is, God really loves you guys and orchestrated things in such a way such that he wanted you to know you belonged there. Like we're not plan B. That in fact, maybe it was, we're not Calvinists, but it was destined to be that you guys would be the ones that would go. That was the plan all along, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And he, so, and I see it that way. I'm like, whoa! Turns out that you guys were the couple that needed to lead this trip. So, and so then hopefully that brings you some encouragement. Yeah, and so I don't know. One of the things that I just want to say about the whole miscarriage thing, it's not a topic we talk about very much. It's like, and I don't know if it's sort of in our culture. I think people don't really talk about it, and people don't really talk about infertility issues all that much. And I know it's because there's a little bit of, I don't know. I think people feel some shame around it, and there's definitely some of that. And so it's an area that, because we don't know how people feel about it, we don't bring it up in the public sphere very much, right? So you guys would agree with that, I think. So I was, I remember just even the green room time before this, I was just asking you guys if you guys are, because you guys wrote that down as a topic, and I was just checking with you guys that you guys are okay talking about it on the air. But I think one of the things with miscarriage is that, or even with infertility, is people feel like there's something, it's their fault, right? And one thing that we tell people is that, vast majority of miscarriages are just, it's like part of God's design in the sense that if that pregnancy or the child's not going to develop properly, right, then it's a self-correcting mechanism that God's built in, actually to protect the woman, right? So it's in some sense, it's very natural. If you talk to doctors about it, they'll just explain to you all the natural phenomenon behind it. But then, because we're storytelling beings, we often assign a story to it. And often that story is, there's something wrong with me, or God's punishing me. And that's just not true, right? That's just not true. And we can't believe that, because that's just a lie. And then whenever I'm faced with this, or I hear about someone who's kind of struggling with this again, I'm reminded of how many people in the Bible are barren, right? They're barren, they're infertile. Yeah. And it's interesting that God keeps using infertile people like Sarah, Abraham and Sarah can't have kids till they're 100. It's the divine intervention, right? It's when the world's going. And it's because culturally too, there's so much shame around infertility, right? And so this cursed woman, Sarah, she's going to become the mother of all the nations. It's like this crazy idea. And it's like God is trying to comfort and to send a message there that infertility, miscarriages, these things are not sin. These things are not your fault. And so, anyways, that was kind of coming to my mind as you were sharing. So, but Marie, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk to, since,
Well, a few things came to mind. Well, because even before the mission trip, when the miscarriage happened, we actually had to go to the ER, and I wasn't sure, and the doctors weren't telling me neither here nor there. So then there was a day and a half's worth of just wondering, and then we got it confirmed the next day. And that day actually just happened to be, at least among the staff, we call it like life group. So I was just like, like I just found out, or it just got confirmed that we lost the baby. There's a part of me that was like, kind of want to just be alone. You don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. You don't want, you just want to be at home or
But then I was like, oh, but you know what? I think being alone right now isn't the way to go. It might lead me down kind of just a path of, I don't know, just despairing on my own and kind of being just isolated. So then, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to life group. Yeah. And then I got to just share with the staff sisters. And it felt very, like it just happened. So I keep using the word raw, but that whole month was just raw.
I mean, what else could it be? You know, when you're going through something like that.
But then just experiencing, everyone's prayers and even just both, because I don't really like physical touch that much, but then I was appreciating everyone's hugs that night, and just felt like I was kind of like the one on the mat being like carried in that moment, and especially the recovery period too. So then in a way processing it with everyone in our community, I think helped me kind of heal properly instead of just going on kind of maybe even a weird way of grieving or something. But I got to just kind of like bring things before God and before people, and I think that was like in a way like the healthiest way to kind of lean into that. And then there were moments though just where I'm like working or something where I just and then I like happened to be talking virtually to, actually this happened. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he just had his third kid. So then like I just naturally was asking him how he's doing and how's having 2 kids versus 3 and stuff. But it's and I thought I was like gonna be okay with that, and it just but then kind of in the middle of it, I realized, it's kind of like I started thinking of my sadness over like our loss and stuff. And kind of in that moment and in other moments where I felt like kind of like sad about it. I actually tried to memorize like the hymn, It Is Well, with my soul, because the backstory of that, really quick is, the guy who wrote it pretty much wrote it also out of a place of despair, because he lost 4 of his daughters in kind of like a boat accident. And in a way I kept memorizing the verses because I was just calibrated by how his loss was in a way just like greater than ours. We didn't even, like he had multiple children, and like that's extra sad wow. in a way. And then but then also like with the actual words of the song, by the end he is like saying, even in the midst of his grief, it is well with my soul because I have my relationship with God. And in a way, in the scope of eternity, just everything else is just like additional blessings. I mean, still good things, but it's just additional. So then I got to just really claim the truth of how, I still have salvation. Like my home is heaven, and, any like good things that, like God allows us in this life, it really, it's not the main thing, which is weird to say because I think children are great. Any blessings are great, but then it's, but I still have the main thing, and I can
hold on. Maybe something like we can hold on to the blessings loosely or something like that. Or because it's like, I can, like good things are still good, but I have the greatest thing. It's kind of like, like that. Yeah. So just memorizing that hymn and singing it when I was, had moments of sadness also kind of helped. So community and that hymn especially. Wow, I didn't know that about the backstory about it as well. Wow.
And he's actually from Chicago originally too, so.
Oh really? Oh wow, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna look up more of that story. That gives a lot more meaning to that hymn, or it gives some texture to that. So thank you guys for sharing about that. Like I said, it's just not something we talk about too much, but man, it's life. This is real. I remember my first exposure to thinking about this was in an ethics class that I took for my first year of Biola. And and they were talking about bioethics. They were talking about infertility and how, and it started with just stats about infertility, about miscarriages, and I was shocked because I just, as a single dude, I had never thought about that stuff before. But I was just shocked by the statistics and how common it is.
Yeah, I
And
think 15%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's whoa, and they didn't realize. And so the point they were making is, if you're going to go into ministry and you're going to be counseling people, this is an area that you will have to talk to people about.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that to be true. So yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit of your experience. And so we've gone long anyway, so might as well go a little longer. All right, so
Let's do it.
maybe we can just hit our final set of questions here, just about the future. So we announced a few weeks ago about various transitions happening, various people moving, including us and including you guys. So although you won't be moving very far, you'll be moving like an hour and a half away to Elgin to help start up this new Chicagoland youth initiative, which I'm personally very excited about. I think it's gonna be huge because I feel like the demand will be huge in Chicagoland for youth ministry. So, but as you guys think about all the changes coming, how are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling about it? And I don't know, just what's top of mind for you about those transitions?
Oh man, I feel super mixed. I think the first thing that comes to mind is I feel really sad because we're not going to be involved with the college ministry here in Chicago anymore, or at least directly.
Yeah.
And I'm going to miss a lot of people. And then of course Stefan's leaving. I don't
He left.
like, he left. Yeah.
He already left, bro.
I don't like the fact that I'm sad about him leaving.
You want to be happy?
And I keep talking about it. But yeah,
I mean, it's the freshest thing that's happened. I mean, he left like a few days ago. So it's on our minds.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's been like my closest friend here in Chicago for the past 7 years. And so, feel pretty sad about that. Sad about not seeing Audrey grow up. And and then the different students that we've been able to meet and come to care for and love. And I feel really excited for the college ministry next year. This this initiative of student-led life groups is really neat to me. And it's so cool that our students are starting to catch the vision of trying to reach their campuses and wanting to lead in these different varieties. And the fact that this past year, so many of them got to share the gospel, and it's really exciting. And I'm really sad that I don't get to be a part of that. So I feel sad about that. At the same time, I'm like, it's going to continue. And I'm so thankful for the past 7 years that I got to experience. I got to experience a lot that I feel like I didn't deserve. And I'm just really thankful and excited to see. I mean, again, we're not that far, so we'll be able to see it, still kind of close. And so I'm excited for that. Yeah. I'm also, I mean, it feels kind of awkward to say this, but I'm going to miss you too, DP.
Thanks, Agape.
I miss your kids and Kata. And man, that's such a big transition. Yeah. I realized this past week that I was like on another level of sad this past week. And it just occurred to me on Saturday, Marie and I were driving, on Sunday, we were driving back from after watching Thunderbolts. And it's this movie about mental health. A theme of it is mental health. Anyways, and it just occurred to me that this past week, I was really sad because these pillars of my support system, they're gone. And then it just feels like my world is falling apart. But I didn't realize that. But emotionally, that was going on. And it just clicked for me. And I'm like, man, I don't know what this
that's why I'm feeling sad. Right now. Yeah.
So I don't know what this next year is going to be like without you guys. I mean, I'm sure it'll be good. Like God is good and he's going to do stuff, you know. And I mean, one of my other best friends is coming to Chicago too.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited for that. So there, like it's both, right? So I'm really sad, but I'm also really excited. And then, like you were saying, I'm super stoked about youth ministry. I mean, I did youth ministry for a few years after college, and man, the youth need Jesus. And that was my experience when I was a kid, or like when I was high schooler. Man, like I just imagine if I had a Christian male adult that could have tried to influence me and teach me about Jesus during that period of time where it's so crucial, where I got influenced by so many other things and I got messed up. But man, if there was a force, like, a Christian older brother, like trying to minister to me, like, it could have been different.
Yeah, we could get years back. Years back on our lives.
Yeah. And so the fact that we get to be that for these other kids, man, I don't know how many, there are so many kids that going through depression, addiction, and all these different things that the world is trying to Satan's trying to get them at, and we get to go in there and try to save them and love them and care for them, tell them they have meaning and purpose and like all these things. I'm so excited for that. And then, you know, as I was talking about earlier, like God has prepared good works for me, for us, and man, I'm excited to see how that's going to manifest in the next few years. And in a few years we'll see so many youth kids coming to know Jesus, and it's exciting. So I don't know, it's very mixed. I feel very complicated about it.
Yeah. Man, I know the picture of your entire pillars and support structures falling down. That just makes me feel really bad now. But new pillars and support structures will be built up. And like you said, you know, God is good. You know, God is good, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's okay to be sad too.
Yeah.
So, man. It's been, I guess, we've been together for 6 years now. 6 years. So that's a long time.
Yeah,
it's a long time. And then with us moving and then you moving, the entire Chicago 8 will have recycled, will have cycled out at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's in that way, it's a completely different phase of Chicago ministry now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Marie? How are you feeling?
Yeah. For me, it's also a bit mixed. Well, part of it's a little different for me because I have no youth ministry experience.
Right. That'll be brand new for you.
I'm entry level. Yeah.
Yeah. Entry level analyst.
Yeah. So in that way, it feels kind of like a step of faith. But at the same time, I mean, echoing what Agape was saying, I am going to miss seeing everyone on a more regular basis. And because everyone, I don't know, it's just so precious, you know. But at the same time, we're not too far away. So hopefully we'll pop in here and there, or you know, college students can come and help us with youth retreats or whatever we're going to do. So so it's not like a goodbye forever kind of thing either. And then, in terms of, actually doing youth ministry and living in Elgin, I'm actually most looking forward to, just all the different people who are going to move and sort of be the Elgin community collectively together, not just youth, but potentially other ministries as well. So then it feels weirdly nostalgic because it's funny. I don't know a lot of people, but then I'm like, oh, it kind of reminds me of, Davis Church actually. And just like the layers of generations and just even forming more bonds or more memories. And in that way, I'm excited because I actually got to think back on when I first, moved here. I moved here the day after Agape and I got married. And, and I remember everyone felt, everyone felt like, oh, like you guys are like my extended family. Because then we still do DTs and like our way of life similar. But and then making new memories in Chicago and stuff. And in that same way, I'm like, oh, even in that way, what I learned how to do here with everyone, in our current group. I'm hoping to also kind of take that, to Elgin and kind of experience that again. With more of our brothers and sisters there too.
So you'll have a chance to build more connections, more kind of throughout our network. Because before it was mostly Davis, right, and then it was Chicago, and Chicago's a small team, and as far as it goes, we're a pretty young team, right. And so then, but in Elgin will be, because it won't just be the youth team; it'll be the training center team, and there'll be preachers there. There'll be some of the older ones there, and so you're going to get like a truly multi-generational community.
And their kids too,
and their kids, right? So all the way down to the kids, and then to the new youth that we're going to reach. So, man, I just think that I'm going to come back to Chicago in 2-3 years from now, and it's going to be like, it's going to be completely different. You know what I mean? And I'm excited for whatever that will be. So man, I'm thankful for you guys. I know Agape shares a lot about his insecurities, and I know you subjectively feel that, but the thing is, and I've said this to you in private many times, but just everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And when I look at you guys, in Agape, I see someone who's an excellent shepherd, like someone who knows how to, like in the APEST, like the kind of that shepherding, like taking care of people, understanding where people are coming from, kind of counseling them, taking them to the next step. And I've seen how you've been a blessing to people, like not just in Filter of Hope, but, I consistently find that younger ones seek you out, right? To confide in you, to confess, to ask for advice. There's something to that, right? I mean, there are certain people who get that more than others, right? And that's a gift, actually. That is a gift that you have. And I think that's going to be huge. I think you can play that adult, male, Christian. You fit all the, you qualify, man. You're an adult, male, Christian who can take an interest in those youth kids, right? Yeah. And man, like, I think you can really impact people's lives through that. And I've seen Marie, Marie's one of our powerhouse evangelists, like her ability to kind of keep up with people and keep them in mind, keep up relationship with them over a long period of time and be faithful to them and slowly draw them in. I see a lot of our current students, and I was, I was looking at pictures and like some of our current juniors, I'm like, their freshman year, like barely knew who they were, barely coming out to stuff. And I think in large part, it was like Marie being faithful with them and just not giving up on them. And then, that a lot. So that consistent presence, right? And again, like I can see how that's going to be a huge thing, like to these youth that sometimes they're not going to give you the time of day, sometimes they're going to be a little bit bratty and you're going to not really want to love them, and yet giving them a chance again and again, faithfully, right? And through that, over time, they will break, right? Because of God's love that's manifesting through you. And so I appreciate those things that you've brought to our ministry, and I'm 100% confident that you'll be able to bring that to the youth as you guys start out the ministry there. So yeah, I'm grateful, and we're all feeling very up and down nowadays, I think. Yeah. Agape was yesterday. I was like, or was it a couple of days ago? I was like randomly like to the staff. I was like, I think I'm in anger right now. I'm in the anger stage of the 5 stages of whatever. And then Agape's like, that makes so much sense. I'm like, what do you mean it makes so much sense? You mean I'm angry right now? But yeah, I think Kata's been on the receiving end of my anger right now. Anyways, all right. Well, any last thoughts? Any last thoughts before we wrap up? Just how are you guys feeling right now after recording?
Feeling good. Oh, I did have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay, sure. Well, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Might as well. I mean, it's a long episode anyways.
Yeah. Well, just because in our church, we've kind of been experimenting with this thing called Studio Nova. I guess, would you ever consider putting Emma and Lucas in Studio Nova when you move over to North Carolina?
Yeah. So Studio Nova, just brief, short explanation, is it's sort of like a micro school. So it's online curriculum, but you do it in a one room classroom setting where there's facilitators that are helping you, but the facilitators are not teaching them curriculum. The curriculum is pretty much driven through this online curriculum that's ready made for you. So anyways, that's just some background for Studio Nova. And we've been piloting that as an official, I guess, site of Studio Nova, which is this, nationally recognized online high school. Or online school. It started as a high school. It goes down to kindergarten now. So the question is, how do I feel about, are we going to do that with our kids? I would love to, actually. Seeing the gains just academic gains that some of those kids that have gone through it, like, makes me feel a little bit envious for Emma because she's so bored at school right now, right? So, so there's a part of me that's just the Asian dad part of me that just wants my kid to have a good education. So there's definitely that, but also just the richness of the community. If you can get a bunch of kids together, I think over there they have 30 or something kids that are all in a classroom together, and they're multi-generational. It's high school all the way down to elementary school. And they're building these interesting, in fact, socially, I think it's really good for them because they're not, because I've heard sociologists talk about how the way that we run school is actually kind of really crazy. Actually, if you think about it, you take all kids that are the same age and you put them in a classroom together. There's no natural hierarchy. So then you have to use like weird hierarchies, like who's the tallest or who's the best at like playing dodgeball or whatever it is at like 3rd grade. And then you become, or like you're the cool kid or you're the pretty kid. And then you make these weird hierarchies that actually don't matter in life, right? Because a big part of life is like respecting natural hierarchies. Like this person's older than you or this person's your boss, so you should listen to them. Like those kinds of hierarchies matter more actually in the real world. So then in some sense, a more intergenerational model in which socially you're interacting with people. Yeah, but then school wise, you're getting what you need. So I really like that model. In NC, when we go there, we're not going to do it though, because I think we don't have enough school age kids. Because there's a lot of kids there. There's like 28, including our kids, that when we get there. But I forget the percentage, but it's something like 70% of them are under 5 years old or something.
Oh,
like that.
wow.
So they're mostly in daycare still. Yeah. So, but I could see in maybe 3 years, because I heard the youngest age that you really want student over is first grade. Or like second, third, because actually they started as a high school curriculum, so it gets stronger as you get older. My position would be something like, like third grade to like 7th or 8th grade would be great to do Studio Nova. They can learn really fast. And then for high school, I feel like high school and maybe even middle school, I still believe in the public school system. There's something about being there, not surrounded constantly by church kids, but by non-Christians, and learning to become an evangelist. And I never had that experience because I was like not genuinely saved, until later. But I would want my kids to have that kind of missional attitude. I feel like that's really important too. So it's a balance. One of the reasons that our church has really been looking into Studio Nova though is because of kind of the crazy sort of, left-leaning sort of philosophies that have been making its way into our curriculums and especially in the cities that we're at, like the big cities that tend to be a little bit left-leaning, really left-leaning actually. And that curriculum, the kind of woke curriculum, if I may say so, goes all the way down to kindergarten sometimes, or even pre-K. And so it's a little bit crazy, which is why we've been trying to, in some of the cities, like trying to, especially in the Bay Area and stuff like that, pull out the kids a little earlier. Yeah. I think at CPS, we haven't really run into that as much because I think the teachers are just dealing with classroom behavioral issues. So that's not really as much of an issue here, I think. But I think that's coming. So, but in NC, I think it's going to be a little bit, I don't know how bad it is over there. I mean, the state itself is not very left leaning, but the city is. So who knows? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's my answer to that. Anyways, yeah. So to wrap things up, how you feeling? How you guys feeling, I guess? Did we talk about that already? We didn't, right?
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel thankful. I think this is my first time verbalizing some of these things. I've been reflecting and writing these things out. And I'm a verbal processor, so I think it's hitting me more.
Well, so this is like literally like a live processing session right now.
Yeah. I mean, Marie and I have talked, but yeah, because Stefan's gone. I haven't talked to him.
I've been gone too, and we haven't had Staff Live group in a while.
Gone too. Yeah. So I haven't had an opportunity to talk. Oh, I'm having a self-realization. Wow. I think I should go and talk with Josh. That's another thing from this past year. Josh has become one of my close friends. So I don't know if he knows that, but anyways.
He's thankful for you, Josh. Not that he listens to this. He probably doesn't listen to this. This is way too long.
But yeah, I think I'm feeling really thankful. I think as I've been reflecting on these things, I've been thankful. But I'm just more thankful, I think. I just feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, I guess I'm feeling, in a way, just like amazed that God allows me to be part of his, salvation work in other people's lives. And just the fact that I'm, instead of just saving me, he like lets me be a part of like ministry. Yeah. Because the other thing I'm realizing as I'm, just throughout our time is, just things didn't really have to go the way that they did is kind of one theme. And and just witnessing like the different phases or the different things that like God has done in our ministry here in Chicago is like really cool. And I just feel like undeserving of it, but also I'm just really thankful as well that we get to even do any kind of ministry. So
yeah, thanks guys. Thank you for all your thoughts and your honest sharing. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, we'll wrap things up here. All right, thanks everybody for listening to another episode of D-Pod. So as we record this right now, it's May 15th, and we're going to be packing up my stuff in a few days actually. And so that means this equipment will also be packed up, which means I probably won't be recording until I'm in North Carolina. So that's it for Chicago D-Pod. Forever and ever.
Bye.